Hello everyone. Today I'm finally going to take the time out to explain this collection that I've been hinting at on Instagram for quite some time now. So I just wanted to put everything together because I know on Instagram I'm like giving bits and pieces, and I keep saying, oh, I'm gonna explain the whole thing, but there's just so much that goes into like the process of creating a collection that it's just really hard to get all of the working parts in your brain. At least for me, it's a little hard to get all those working parts together, and make it easy for someone that's not in your brain to understand what you're trying to do. So there's a couple working parts, and a lot of the collection is just based on history, like history research and things of that nature. So the vision for the collection actually came to me randomly one night while I was on the couch, and I just saw three women wearing bomba outfits and the gigante masks. So at the same time that I was watching this, not watching this, at the same time that this was going on in my brain, I was also scrolling through YouTube, and I just so happened to stumble upon Bernadette Banner, who is the shit. Okay, she's the bee's knees. And if y'all don't know who she is, I'm going to link her page in the description box so y'all can check her out, because she is a fashion lover, fashion historian, historical fashionista. She makes it do what it does. Okay, so she was making, the video I was looking at was a video about the stays that Adidas produced, for I believe it was like the spring or summer or something like that, in one of their past collections. And so that really got me interested into really dissecting the portions of the bomba outfit, because this outfit did not just come out of nowhere. Like, this outfit developed over time. And so what I want to do, or what I decided to do, was celebrate the outfit throughout history in Puerto Rico. So I started hitting up my friend Wikipedia, and I realized that there are some pretty significant dates in very early Puerto Rico, that I would like to commemorate, because those are, you know, important times in our history, including when they were allowed to sharecrop, and including when they were actually set free from slavery. So I picked three important time frames. 1789 is the earliest, and I will take a separate video and go into the three time frames specifically and what was happening during those years that I selected and why I selected those years. And I also selected 1868 and 1873 because those are important dates to our history as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to be recreating those. I'm going to be recreating what the working woman in the field, the slave, would have been wearing if it was in that time frame. So for example, for 1789, I will be making corset. I mean, not corset, I'm sorry. 1789, I will be making stays. I will be making petticoats, and I will be making pockets, because those are very important to the overall look, and we want to be as historically accurate as possible. So when you take a look at the actual, clothing of the time, you can see how the bomba dress developed through these time frames. Because when you see the bomba dress, you see ruffles and a large petticoat. And this right here is a look, and what do you see? Ruffles and a large petticoat. So what I'm really trying to do and emphasize here for y'all is just to tell y'all that the reason that I am choosing these particular time frames is because of the history within those time frames, but at the same time, I'm showing the development of this piece of clothing, this garment that is so important to our culture and to our history. So that's basically what I'm doing. So the first thing that I've done is I've started with 1789. And so I'm making petticoats, and I'm also working on the stays right now, which is proving to be a little bit harder because I'm trying to get the actual correct stay style that I want to make. So I have ordered Patterns of Fashion 5, and I will also link where you can get that as well. And I'm going to be choosing a pair of stays out of there. Now, because I'm trying to make this as fashionable as possible, I do have to, think about that. Like, what's going to look the cutest, what's going to look the most poppington, like what's going to be the bomb.com. So I'm in the process of like researching the actual rations for what they would have received for clothing, because I want to make sure that the looks are as accurate as possible. I do know that when I took a BOMBA class one time, that the woman was explaining to us about where they would get their petticoats and skirts from, and a lot of them actually came from the more upper class women that were in Puerto Rico at the time, who didn't want their petticoats anymore, or they just didn't want them anymore for whatever reason. So a lot of them would go to the women in the field. So that's where I really got the idea of like, okay, let's recreate some of these outfits. Like, let's recreate them in the best way that we know how. So that's what I'm doing. I've procured some linen for the actual for this particular look from 1789, and I'm still in the process of gathering all of the other materials and fabrics for the subsequent periods, which is going to be, the two time frames in the 1800s, 1868 and 1873. So another aspect that goes into this collection is really celebrating the African and Taino heritage that goes into a Puerto Rican, because Puerto Ricans just know that they are just a healthy mix of all three. We're just a mix of the Spaniards, the Taino Indians, and the Africans that were brought over against their will. Okay, so what I'm gonna do to commemorate and pay homage to my Taino ancestors is I'm going to utilize a lot of, and let me just tilt this upward so you can see. Yeah, I'm going to utilize these three motifs, which are, well, not motifs, but these three images, which are, these are symbols that the Taino would use to represent different things. Like, this represents fertility. This is a coqui, which is very important to Puerto Rico because we love them. And these are two lovebirds. Pointing right. Okay. These are two lovebirds, which symbolize eternal love. So in order for me to really connect to the project and connect to my ancestors specifically, which I come from a very long line of crafty women, makers, I'm going to actually be doing the embroidery by hand. So I have not decided exactly the placement of the embroidery, but I do know that these two are going to be going onto the 18th century pockets, and I don't want it to just be that, so I'm probably going to be embroidering it with something else that is native to Puerto Rico, like the flamboyant tree. I'll probably put some coquilles on there just to jazz it up a little bit. Even may embroider borenquen on there, which is like the real name of the island, and that's what it's gonna be. The Vejigante masks and the actual music and the way that the ladies come down, or the way that they're going to be situated, that is how I'm going to represent the African portion of the heritage. And I think it's just gonna be bomb, really. So that's basically just an overview of what I have going on with this collection. I'm going to take a second to just pan over this wall so that you guys can see what is done so far. And if you have any questions or anything, or any suggestions, or anything you want me to look at, any research, anything that's like, girl, you need to read this because I want you to incorporate this, or this should, please, by all means, put it in the comments, okay? So, yeah, and I'll take a look at it. But really, it's just important for me in this video for everyone to know that the concept is really just a development of what I would call one of the most important symbols of Puerto Rican culture, which is the bomba dancer and the gigante. And so I just think that that would be a really good way for me to start this collection and this path that I'm going on with historical dress, and just like incorporating my culture into everything that I do. And I definitely am going to go very, very hard on the African portion, and really trying to find more ways to incorporate the African history into the collection, because I come from a Black woman. So I think that that is particularly important to me and for this overall collection as well, because I'm half Puerto Rican and I am half Black. And so there's a lot of us like that who are Puerto Rican. Like, it's a normal thing. So I definitely want to pay homage to my mother and her culture, even though this is specifically something that is Puerto Rican, because I think that is important. So what I'm going to do is just be researching more ways to incorporate the African culture into the overall collection, and just make it pop, make it do what it does. And hopefully, like, my dream for this collection really is to get people to recognize this collection. Like, if Princess Nokia, if y'all don't get the reference, then y'all need to be listening to her music and watching her videos. But I just would love for her to, like, notice this collection, look at it, like, look at the development of it all, because I really do believe that the reason that I saw the vision of the women, like the way that I saw them in my head, is because of her video, Brujas. And if you have not watched that, y'all need to go watch it. So I think that that's why that vision popped up the way that it did, because I've seen that video before. It definitely didn't pop up in the same manner. Like, I'm not seeing the same thing that I saw in the video. I'm seeing something that is fresh and new in my mind, but kind of like displayed in the same way that it was displayed in the video. If you haven't seen the beginning part of the video, that's what I'm talking about. If you know the video that I'm talking about, that's what I'm saying. Like, when they're singing to Yamaya and she's in the water and things of that nature, that is like that vibe that they have there. That's the vibe that I'm trying to recreate. Like, just taking something and trying to really connect with your roots, you know what I'm saying? Connect to where you come from and celebrate all of the pieces that go into where you come from. So that's my dream for the collection. I would also love to have this collection, like, displayed in a museum somewhere. Like, on display, like, oh, look at this collection. It's historically accurate. Look at it. Look at all the work she put in. Look at all of the embroidery that she put in. Look at the process that she did. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just, I would really love for this to be noticed. And so it's just, I'm not doing it to be noticed. I'm doing it because this is what I love to do. Like, if you know me personally, like, I will talk your ear off all day about the things that I researched on Googleisha, and you probably won't care, but you're just going to be excited to hear about it because I'm so excited to tell it. So really, I just want to do this because this is what I love to do. But I will also love, like, if somebody was like, girl, that is bomb. Like, okay. So yes, end up in Vogue somewhere. I don't know. The possibilities are endless. So yeah, that's what I'm praying for this collection. But right now, what I'm going to do is stop rambling and just take you on a quick little tour of what I have on my research wall so far. Okay. So this is it. this is the research wall. Not this. These are orders. But this is the research wall. So let me just pan through and explain. So we all know that this is the development of the bomba dress. We all know, or the outfit, I should say. We all know that this is going to be done by hand. We know that these are the symbols, the main symbols that are going to be embroidered onto the pieces. And yeah, so we know that so far. So it's important for this collection that the petticoats, and it's important for this collection that the petticoats and the corsets and stays for those particular times are accurate for those particular times. So what I've done is I've compiled a list of the 3 time frames and what they represent. So 1789 represents this major event, 1868 represents this major event, 1873 will represent this particular event, and you can see that these are very important. This is important, this is important, this is important. So I'll be doing a video on explaining those 3 in particular and the actual importance, but for right now you just need to know that these are the time frames. So here is some research that I was doing on corsets. This is a ribbon corset. Unfortunately, I cannot include this corset in this collection because ribbon corsets became popular well after this period. So I have to find a better corset that would have been used, something lightweight, because we are talking about Puerto Rico here. So I definitely don't think that they would have had on as many layers as a woman who was, you know, working even in South Carolina. Okay, so I have to find something that matches that. This right here is the set of stays that I started working on that has since gone in the trash Ola because I have to make this pattern again and you know, do some resizing. As you can see here, I did some piecing there as well. But let me see if I can. Okay, let me see if I can find a picture of the stays. This is not a corset, it's a pair of stays. I'll do a video on the difference soon. But this is basically the pattern that I'm copying. Ah, here we go. Okay, see, this is what happens. Anywho, I'm just gonna insert a picture, but that's it. And here we have the information about the skirts for the later 2 periods, 1868 and 1873, particularly 1873, because this is a walking skirt and this particular shape aligns a little bit better with this particular year. For this year, definitely going to do something a bit larger as far as the skirt circumference at the bottom is concerned. So I hope you're following me. So yes, this also here is advice from ye old Bertha Banner, who I will link a copy to her book. It's basically a sewing manual whose full name I cannot recall at this moment, but it is on the tip of my tongue. But I will put it right down below for you so you can check that out. But this is basically the instruction that I'm going to be following to make the skirt. And this is the pattern for the actual walking skirt. This is a pattern for some other pieces. And this is the pattern for the hanging pocket that I'm going to use for the 1789 look. This is the pattern for the pocket, and these are the birds that I'm going to put onto this particular pocket. So this is basically everything that I have so far. I do need to add a couple of things to this wall regarding the latter years that I'm working in, but for right now I'm really just focused on getting this thing done efficiently. So I'm just focusing on 1789, and working from there. But yeah, basically that's what I have so far.